Family, good morning. It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Wednesday. I hope that you guys are off to an amazing start, and I hope that you guys were able to check out Wake Up Bama this morning that dropped at 4 a.m. A lot of topics to cover today. Today will be a call-in show, by the way. Let me get through kind of my opening, and then I'll open up the call-in line. So if you want to call in today, now is a perfect time. To get into the program and to call and to interact as we have this beautiful Wednesday ahead of us. On the show today, there's a lot of news yesterday, right? And then kind of leading up to Friday's game as Alabama takes on Michigan in the Sweet 16. So there's plenty to talk about. There's plenty to discuss. Alabama held its fifth practice yesterday, and one of the biggest takeaways as you look kind of to the right side was Michael Carroll working at the guard position. I think that was exciting, and I see that as a positive more than a negative. I knew that Michael Carroll would be getting some opportunities at guard, so we'll kind of touch on that. I have to be honest, the running backs continue to really impress me. I had a video kind of even before practice, and I just kind of have a feeling that Alabama's running backs will be a strength of this team. Now, you got to commit to running the ball, and I think we all know that, and that kind of comes down to schematics. But from the small clips that we see and the feedback that we get, clearly these guys are more explosive. Even Khalifa Keith, who we really haven't discussed, and if you don't know who that is, it's a running back who's probably around close to 240 pounds. He looked really shifty yesterday. So maybe being a third down back or a short down and distance type guy, I think Alabama has a lot of different pieces back there to be able to run the ball if they do commit to running the ball. Cedarian Morgan continues to make plays at practice. There was a clip of Alabama. They showcased him and him kind of going up. And what does he bring to Alabama, right? What is he going to bring to Alabama as just a freshman? I think that's exciting to discuss. And the same thing for Jaira Edwards at 6'2", 221 pounds. A lot of people commenting that he looked more like a linebacker. I agree, right? My goodness. The Alabama freshmen are just fantastic, 100%. So with that said, welcome to today's program. And again, let me get kind of through these topics, and I'll take your calls right here on Bama Football on YouTube. And good morning to everybody inside the comment box. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful Wednesday, March 25th. Yesterday I was at the stadium, but it takes a little bit to get, my gear and to go set up at the stadium and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know if you guys like the on-site, if you guys, maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. So if you guys are more up to doing like on-site, let me know inside the comment box. It is cool. I like to get out clearly of the house and go do different things. But I think maybe you don't care. Maybe just, you're cool with the show regardless, which is fine with me. But I kind of like to switch it up anyway. So if you caught the show yesterday, I appreciate you guys for joining me from campus. I live about maybe 10 minutes, if that, from campus. From Bryant-Denny Stadium to my house is not far at all. Alabama having pro day also today on Wednesday. And then you have a ton of guys that will be participating in pro day. We'll have updates later on in the afternoon from pro day. But, I was thinking before I kind of get to the topics on the show, it is interesting to me that kind of the TV, because ESPN lives with Alabama, right? Alabama football specifically. But I was thinking about this. I was like, there was a time where ESPN had to have A-Day on TV. They had to have Alabama spring football practice, right? And they had to have pro day. At least the SEC network did. And I find it kind of surprising that the SEC network isn't showing pro day today. I find that kind of interesting. And there's almost 20 guys that are participating. Maybe it's because there's only 2 guys that are projected to be first-round picks. Ty Simpson is picking up a lot of steam in the NFL draft. Some people are even saying that he could theoretically go ahead of Fernando Mendoza. I don't know if that's going to happen at all. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens with the NFL draft. And I don't think there'll be a lot of guys testing, maybe some open field drills and maybe guys just kind of showcasing. But, the times that I used to go to pro day, it was amazing to see how many head football coaches. I'm sure it's going to be like that today when the team reporters kind of post all their stuff. Every single head football coach from the NFL was in town. So many private jets. That's just how this place operates. I still can't believe that we don't have an airport. right? I mean, we have an airport for like private jets and for the football team, but I can't believe like you can't get a flight from like Tuscaloosa to Atlanta or Tuscaloosa like Dallas, right? Wish that would kind of change. All right, so yesterday, as you saw, one of the biggest pieces of news regarding the university was the fact that Christy Curry, right, headed to South Florida. And I found this to be really interesting. You know, I don't cover women's basketball. I have respect for all sports, but I'm just, one-man operation, so I can only, cover the things that I can put my time and energy to. And as you see, the football sometimes it's not even enough. But I was thinking about this, and I would like some feedback inside the comment box. Why do you think that Christy Curry left Alabama for South Florida? 245 and 173 over 13 seasons, right? Now, I know Alabama just lost to Louisville 69-68 in the Sweet 16 in the women's basketball tournament. But I found that to be interesting, and I was like, 13 seasons, that's a long time. Maybe you need kind of a change of scenery, right? Could there be something else? I don't know. In a statement by Greg Burney said, Coach Curry did a commendable job with the women's basketball team over the last 13 seasons, leading the program to back-to-back NCAA tournaments, winning 20-plus games in each of the last 5 seasons. We appreciate her contributions and wish her and her family the best moving forward. So that was from Greg Byrne on yesterday. And then it kind of segued me into thinking about Nate Oats, right? And who we have as a basketball coach. And I put together an article, I think it was on Monday that it came out, just talking about the appreciation for Nate Oats. Because it's not common to have what we have going on with basketball and football simultaneously. I think Alabama put out a graphic that the University of Alabama is the only program in the nation, the only university in the nation to have a team reach the Sweet 16 and also make the college football playoffs, right? I don't know. Maybe kind of like a moral, type stat or however you want to kind of look at that. But I think that when you look to Nate Oats, what can you do to absolutely secure him for another 10 years, right? A lifetime contract, whatever you want to call it. I mean, his buyout right now is $18 million. And that jumps to $10 million on April 1st. So, I mean, no one's going to pay $18 million for the buyout. $10 million, I would think, yeah, right, on April 1st. And the timing is interesting because Alabama plays Michigan, right? And North Carolina just fired Hubert Davis. Hubert Davis, the head basketball coach at North Carolina. Over the last 5 seasons, Hubert Davis, 125 and 54, reached the title game in his first year. They fired him. That's the first time they've kind of fired one of their own. And everybody has read that North Carolina is going to go national for their search. Usually they like somebody who's from, the mothership. Would Nate Oats be a guy that you probably call? Absolutely. But I think Kentucky learned a lesson that, the game has changed and Alabama is not broke. And I think Kentucky definitely wanted Nate Oats. I don't think Nate Oats was ever interested in Kentucky. I do wonder if Nate Oats would have an ambition to coach in the NBA. But I don't think that Nate Oats goes to a job even like North Carolina. I mean, honestly, he has a lot going for him over here, right? Maybe, people are like, the new arena. Does he really need that? I think fans want that. But, NIL, very prosperous here. North Carolina, yeah, more storied program basketball-wise. Here is something that really hasn't been done over here, right? And I know there's a lot of you that love Whip Sanderson and what he did, which was really remarkable as well. But I think, and I would ask you inside the comment box, do you feel that Nate Oats is starting to surpass Whip Sanderson as being the best coach ever at Alabama? I think he might be. I think there would be a lot of people that would argue that Nate Oats is the best basketball coach here. So that the buyout kind of goes down on April 1. Programs can afford it. People want Nate Oats. They love that blue-collar mentality. What he's done here speaks for itself, right? And it's beyond that. It's beyond 4 consecutive Sweet 16s. It's a Final Four appearance, and it's an Elite 8 appearance. I mean, 12 years ago, the guy was coaching high school basketball, and now he's, doing this amazing run here at the University of Alabama. But where are the expectations, right? And what are the expectations for Alabama basketball? I think he's exceeded those expectations, to be honest. Speaking of expectations, you got Lane Kiffin yesterday during a press conference saying that he understands that fans want immediate success. But he stresses that it takes time to build a program to an elite level. And I think a guy like Lane Kiffin, as me as a person that he seems to be, he also understands that the SEC is a absolute grind. And he had something cooking at Ole Miss, and it took a little bit of time for him to kind of build it up to where it was. But like for Kalen DeBoer coming in, it's taking him time, and fans want immediate success. And what immediate success means to Alabama fans is, at the very least, semifinals. The expectation is a championship. And Lane Kiffin, with the name that he has, and really being kind of related to Nick Saban or trying to be Saban or whatever we got going over there, he's built himself up to build those expectations to that he's the guy, the best guy in the country for that job. He feels that he's the best coach in the country, and fans have bought into that because of his charisma and the way that he pretends to be Saban. So he's brought a lot of pressure onto himself because of who he is and the name that he has. And what he did at Ole Miss, people are going to expect him to do more at LSU, where there's more pressure and where there's more expectations. Let's be honest. The expectations at Ole Miss are not the same at LSU. They're not. LSU feels that it could still be Alabama, and they're not. So fans from LSU think now that they have Kiffin, kind of the best thing after Saban, that they can have immediate results and get into the championship game. I don't even think they're going to get into the playoffs. I think it's going to be a bumpy road for Lane. I really do. Now, can he build something if fans are patient and the administration and whoever else, is kind of behind the scenes at LSU? Maybe. But, you've seen how people have been with Coach Kalen DeBoer, and DeBoer got Alabama to the SEC title game in his second season, and fans fully still haven't bought in. So I don't think he makes the playoffs. But we'll see. And he's asking for fans for time. And I relate that to Alabama fans as, we're going into year 3. We were patient year 1. Year 2, I think, was a little bit better, but the nature of the losses impacted us greatly, right? Year 3, pivotal year for DeBoer. Year 1, crucial year for Lane Kiffin because of the pressure that follows a coach like that. Okay, Bama hired Trent Simpson as a defensive line coach, right? And I was looking at this, and anything with Oklahoma's defensive line excites me. Anything with Oklahoma's defense excites me. You bring in anything from Oklahoma that's exciting on the defensive side because of the team and the mental that Oklahoma had on the defensive side. So getting Trent Simpson, somebody who's been within the program for 4 years, And last year they had 45 total sacks, which was number 3 in the nation. I think the year before they were in the top 30. I think they had close to 35 sacks or whatever. I mean, this is a guy you would think if he can demonstrate what exactly Oklahoma was doing on the defensive front. And you know what? I'm starting to kind of question it. Freddie Roach. Is this kind of a chess move to kind of invigorate a guy like Freddie Roach? Because I know there's been a lot of people that have been asking about Freddie Roach, and I'm asking you, what have you thought about Freddie Roach and the development that he's had with the defensive linemen? It seems like he can get them good, but it doesn't seem like he can get them elite. And I think he's done a pretty good job recruiting. Tough guy to get rid of because, he's connected to Alabama. But I don't know. There's a lot of people that don't really value Freddie Roach. And I think I look at it in two ways. I look at it as development, and I also look to it to like defensive scheming. I think sometimes I would say that you just need to send more pressure. There's no way in hell that you're going to get after the quarterback with just sending 3. There was a lot of times where we just sent 3. How? Why? How can you watch teams like Indiana? How can you watch teams like Miami? Those teams were never sending 3. They were sending blitz packages. They were being creative on the defensive side of the ball. Even the Seattle Seahawks, who won the Super Bowl, they were getting after the quarterback. So when you bring over Trent, you're like, yo, man, what can we do immediately to turn up our pass rush from the jump? I'm talking like the day he lands, you bring him into the meeting on the defense, and he was like, look, this is what we got to do. And I think you can do just that because of the secondary that you have, right? 45 sacks in a season is crazy. That's what Oklahoma had last year. 100%. All right. Hit on a couple practice notes, and then I'll take your guys' calls. I appreciate you guys. Be patient. We already have Chris from New Jersey. He's been waiting for 15 minutes. I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you so much, bro. We'll get to you in just a minute. Michael Carroll at guard. How are we feeling about Michael Carroll at guard? As I said in a couple different videos, this is a promotion for him. This means that he can play anywhere within Alabama's offensive line. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He can play left guard, left tackle. He can play anywhere on the field, and that's where he's going to translate into the NFL. Michael Carroll is big, nasty, athletic. He's coming after you. He is the anchor of the Alabama offensive line as just a sophomore. And I wouldn't look at him as a sophomore. I look at him as a game-changing offensive lineman. Is there such a thing? Yes, there is. So the offensive line becoming a little bit more clear as we enter the back end of March. And that being Javen James getting opportunities at the right tackle position, a transfer from Mississippi State. You got Michael Carroll. You got Rayson Delgado, you got Nick Brooks, and you got Jackson Lloyd. 3 out of the 5 right now are transfers in, right? 2 of the guys are second-year players from Alabama. 3 out of the 5 are second-year players overall. I find it really interesting, not so much that Javen James is getting opportunities at right tackle, but that Nick Brooks is at guard on the left side. Being 6'7", 349 pounds, and Alabama shared a small piece of footage from him, and I was blown away. I was like, man, this guy has size, athleticism. He's getting off the ball. If that's the type of effort they're getting from him at practice, practice is how you play. We got to be able to run the football. If you think about this, if you have guards, Michael Carroll and Nick Brooks, and you have tight ends that are 270 pounds, Josh Ford, Caleb Edwards, you got to think that we can run the ball. If you commit to running the ball. Talking about the running backs. Yes or no inside the comment box, have you felt that the running backs have looked much better? I thought the running backs have looked more explosive. And these are small windows that we're seeing, yes. And are all running backs going to look really good at practice? Yes. But there's a big difference comparing the running backs this year to compared to last year. They're better. 100%. A.K. Deere grew up. Daniel Hill, same thing with Kevin Riley. You welcome in the new additions, they look great. And yeah, Xavier Crowell, he's fitting in where he needs to fit in, but I think absolutely the guy is ready to play. The guy is ready for the rock. That picture of Keelan Russell and Xavier Crowell, that hit hard, right? That's the future. And the future could be closer to us than we think. There's going to be nothing more satisfying for Alabama football fans than if we see Keelan Russell march out there leading Alabama's offense with Xavier Crowell behind him. I mean, could the offense almost be set? Keelan Russell at quarterback, Xavier Crowell at running back, Josh Ford, Caleb Edwards at the tight end position, right? Ryan Coleman-Williams, Lazier Brooks, Rico Scott, Noah Rogers. We talked about the offensive line. The offensive line is pretty good. And I think the offense, I'm not mad at the offense. I mean, the starters, scheming, if you can scheme it right, how is this offense not going to be much better than last year? On the defensive side, I got one more thing on the offensive side. Sedarian Morgan. I know it's, you know what? I slowed down that clip that Alabama put out. And the two times that Sedarian Morgan has made these incredible catches at practice, they've both been against Nick Sherman. Now, Nick Sherman is a transfer in. He's from Northridge High School. He's a local kid. Great kid. I've met him before. But each time he's got up against Sedarian Morgan and he's made the highlight reel. Kind of tells me this. Sedarian Morgan, is he on the ones if he's going against Sherman? Like, I don't think Sherman is repping with the ones. So is it kind of like ones versus twos? I don't know what the situation is. And I'm not taking anything away from Sedarian Morgan at all because the guy, I'll tell you what, and someone pointed out inside the comment box, they're like, he looks like Julio Jones. And he does. The guy is shredded. He 6'4", 223? I think he's going to make plays against anybody. I don't care if it's Nick Sherman. I don't care if it's whoever Alabama's playing. That guy is already a problem. And then I think when you look to the defensive side of the ball, right, you got Jaira Edwards, 6'2", 221 pounds. This guy looks more like a linebacker, right? Am I right? So when you look at those particular players on the defensive side, and you look to kind of those freshmen that are starting to kind of stand out, you look long-term to Alabama football. I mean, this is a team that, not only projects well now, but I think projects well for the next couple of years, right? The corners, ridiculous to have corners that are 6'4". I don't know how many corners we've had that are 6'4" here, but to have a multitude of corners that are 6'4", very, very exciting to think about the possibilities. All right. Okay, we'll take our first call. I don't even have to put the call line on the show because Chris from New Jersey, he's got it locked in, and we'll take it right now. Hey, Chris, what's up, man? Appreciate you calling in, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kyle. Happy hump day, my friend.
Happy Wednesday, brother. Welcome on in.
So I got three quick things.
All
the
right.
First one is offensive line.
Okay.
Moving Carroll to guard tells us that they're looking for the best five. Now, on a happy note, we have. You remember they always say you need six. Saban used to say you need six, if not seven, because at any time somebody could go down. You need people to be able to get in that in the rotation immediately, be able to play. Now, remember last year we had Jaden Roberts, who was the nickname the Hulk, on the sideline, and instead, of putting him in the game, we moved. no offense, he's a really nice kid that will conform me. I wish him well, but come on, he was mediocre at best. So moving him to guard tells us one thing: we had no depth, or these guys didn't know the playbook or whatever, right? So this tells me that we're finding the best five, and we have a fifth and a sixth and maybe even the seventh coming off the bench. So happy days. Now, number two is I'm throwing this out there early. I think I've already kind of alluded to it, and I'm not saying Sedarian Morgan is not the man. He's going to get playing time, but the first freshman coming on the field in 2026 is going to be Crowell. Definitely, he's look at it. By the way, you showed like a little video of him at practice. Anybody see like his bicep? That does not look like a freshman bicep. That looks like a junior senior. He looks jacked up. He's a freshman.
Yeah, he
He's
does.
like a kid.
Yeah.
So now my last thing, and then I'll let somebody else come. But I'm going to preface this, everybody, with when it comes to Alabama football, yes, I am completely nuts. So okay. So now that I've prefaced it that I am nuts when it comes to Alabama football, and I implore the undefeated and yourself, Kyle, that there is a large library of videos on Kyle's channel. Yeah. Look for yourself. Okay, so now go back and look from last year where Ty Simpson's been standing at practice. Okay, if you don't have to believe me, go back and look where Jalen Milroe was standing. How about let's go back? You can see also Mac Jones and our Heisman Trophy winner. Now you can't when you go look for. I haven't been able to find any Tua, Jalen, but it's strange. I came upon this. What was the guy's name? His brother was on Tua days. Parker Wilson. What was
I think. Yeah.
He was from Hoover. He's from Hoover High School. He's standing where Keelan Russell. This is where I'm going with this, kids. He's standing at practice where Keelan Russell. Keelan Russell's the starter, Kyle. I'm telling you right now. It shows where he's standing. I think somebody Rocket Columbo, Chris. Might I just ask one more question? No, I'm just kidding. John Parker Wilson. Thanks, Jarvis. He's standing where Keelan is standing. So that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that Keelan is the starter, like I've said all along. I like these shows with these like the Sherlock Holmes types. So, but anyway, I think we have nothing to be happy for. Now, lastly, is A-Day on TV? Because I don't. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it.
No, A-Day. That's what I was saying earlier in the show. Pro Day used to be on TV. A-Day used to be on TV, but they've kind of gone away from that. But we'll have coverage, Chris. I promise you, bro. So I know you can't Kyle, make it. Yeah,
going to the stadium, my friend. I love that. Come on, keep that up. Well, I still say my favorite day of this entire show was when you walked around after A-Day and took the hey.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, we'll do something. Anyway, we'll do something like that as well, man. But I appreciate you calling in, man. Good to hear from you, Chris.
All right. Happy hump day. Roll Tide, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right. Chris out in New Jersey. We go back to a 501. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle. This is Dennis from Arkansas.
Hey, Dennis. What's up, man? I appreciate you calling in, man. Welcome to the show. Go ahead.
I know I hadn't talked to you in a while, man. I said, let me call in while I'm on here today.
Yeah, love it, man. Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Just a couple things. First off, man, I love the videos of these freshmen because it is implicating one thing, Cal. You could say what you want about DeBoer and his staff, but they're recruiting plug-and-play freshmen, especially the 5-stars. Sedarian Morgan will play.
Yep.
Jaira Edwards will play.
Yep.
Xavier Corwell will play.
Yep.
Those are the three for sure that we all know, they're going to play, Cal.
Yep.
Whether they're starters or not, I think they will be in that rotation.
Yep.
Another thing, man, I know you're very critical of Grubb, and so I had to do my own research. I went back and I researched our rushing attack last year. And did you know, Kyle, that we averaged 30 rushes a game?
That is surprising to me. Yeah, that is surprising.
30 rushes a game. And so that's why I kind of think that the schematic of things with our old offensive line coach and those players just weren't the type offensive line that we needed for the style of running backs that we got. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we got every style running back that you can have on a roster.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's got their attributes and they're different. And we were the same way last year.
Yeah.
You know, I just think the schematic of things and the coaching style that they had the last few years, you know, just wasn't it, you know. And, if you remember last year, even on the show, you know, we were critical. We knew that our chances of making it to the playoffs, championship, anything like that was dependent on our offensive line. But what happened was we hired Grubb, and that's where all the hype went. You know, everybody totally forgot that, you know, we've been critical of this offensive line for a couple of years now when we hired Grubb, because we thought that, whoa, Grubb's coming, everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
You know, and it came back and bit us a little bit, you know, but I like the movement that the boy's making. He knows what he has to attack. It's the same way that we looking at the games and looking at the effort and looking at the standard that Alabama holds everybody to, man. And, so, yeah, Kyle, those are my little couple points. I'm going to get out of here, let somebody else get on there.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate your points, man. Good stuff, man. Talk to you next time.
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right. Dennis from Arkansas. Yeah, good point outs. I actually didn't know that Alabama averaged 30 rushes per game. That is surprising to me. And I think the way that I would look at that and looking at Alabama's offense last year is I felt that they ran the ball clearly, but they didn't run it in an effective manner. Yeah, but like schematically, some of the times that they ran it, it didn't make sense to me, right? For example, like you start getting hot with the running backs and you pull away. Third downs, they do something different. Third and short, they wouldn't run the ball. They'd run on obvious downs. So that comes down to scheming, in my opinion. That's kind of why I feel that Grubb was underwhelming. Plus, people who work for the NFL, people who coach in the NFL, they've also said things about Grubb that have made me feel that way. Kind of compounded what I thought. Plus, the Seattle Seahawks, I'll never get away from that they won the Super Bowl the year after they fired Grubb. That's more than a coincidence to me. Also, I like the point that Dennis pointed out. By the way, call line is open if you want to chat with me this morning, 205-850-1994. Love the fact about plug-and-play freshmen. I thought that was a really great point. Yeah, I mean, you can say what you want about DeBoer. You can say this, you can say that, you can whatever you want to say. But the thing about it, and what is very true, is the fact that DeBoer has recruited guys that are going to play, that played last year, that are going to play this year. There is no way in hell that we're keeping Crowell on the bench. There's no way that we're keeping Sedarian Morgan on the bench. There's no way that we're keeping Jaira Edwards on the bench. There's like limited. I mean, these guys are going to play this year, and that's something that we saw from the freshmen last year. That's why I think like the future of Alabama is so bright. Because you continue to stack on these plug-and-play freshmen that are going to have so much experience. Plus, if you can continue to retain them as well, they're going to be that much better going forward. That's why I'm buying Alabama long-term. 404, you're up next. Hey, welcome to the program. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Yeah, this is Big Homie from Marietta, Georgia.
Big Homie, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in, man. Welcome on in from Georgia. Go ahead, man.
Hey, Kyle, I want to say this. I think that we as Alabama fans are putting the cart before the horse. I don't think that we truly know how any of these freshmen or transfer players are gonna play. That's why I truly support an A-Day game like Nick Saban had, because that lets you see what we are looking at, the product, and how this guy is going to be, how that guy plays. And another thing, that I don't think that Xavier Crowell should play right away because of the running backs that has already been there. Those guys have been there through a horrible offensive line, a not so good offensive line coach. So we got to give these guys like Riley and the rest of these guys, a chance. Yeah. Everybody's talking about this Xavier Crowell guy, but we're not giving the guys who've already been there a chance, who played behind a horrible offensive line. And I do think that there's no more excuses for Grubb and DeBoer and this coaching staff. I do think that DeBoer is not the coach for Alabama in the future. And I'm always feel that way because to me, he's a soft coach. He's a very soft coach. And that's not Alabama style. And Grubb, I just think he's a horrible offensive play caller. And it showed throughout the season, throughout last season, because, you want to run trick plays on 1st and 10, first and goal, you want to run a trick play. Yeah. Come on. So that's just my perspective on everything, Kyle.
Yeah, on the line.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. All right. Thanks, big homie. I'll answer on the other line, bro. Thanks for calling in, bro. I hope you have a good Wednesday. Big homie calling in. And look, there's a lot of fans that feel this way, right? I'm not surprised to hear big homie kind of sound off on the platform, not happy with the schematics of Ryan Grubb. That's how I feel too. The trick plays, it'd be interesting to go back and have like a whole highlight reel of the trick plays and when he called those trick plays, right? Some of them just made absolutely no sense to me, like when he was running those. And I think a lot of people in the South, particularly, like no one here that played organized sports at whatever level, nobody played sports, had a coach that was soft. Did you? And so like what is soft? And I think like if you were to ask me like what is soft, I think like a coach who clearly like just doesn't get on your tail, and not to say, I mean, we don't see everything from DeBoer, but I mean, we can tell it's a different coaching style than what we're used to. I mean, we all grew up with coaches and people who were just like on our tail, and that's just what we're accustomed to, and that translates in SEC football. It really does, because I guarantee you, Kirby Smart is not viewed as soft, right? Pete Golding, the same thing. I mean, you could go round and round with the coach from the SEC. So people are going to feel that way about DeBoer. That's just fact. The reason I like DeBoer and the reason that I've kind of came along, even though I like a coach who coaches hard, is because of those recruiting elements. And I think that anybody who took over for the last regime was going to be in this same predicament. That's just the truth. So I kind of, when I think about DeBoer, I zoom out. But I do feel, and I'm very open about this, that if Grubb doesn't have a successful year, that weighs completely on DeBoer unless he makes changes. And in my opinion, I don't think he will, because I see him as loyal to a fault. And by the way, thank you so much, Michael, for the super chat, bro. Sorry to miss it, man. I was looking at the screen. So it says, always love the call-in portion. As always, great room, high energy, good people in here. Thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it, Michael. Thank you, bro. That's a hell of a super chat, man. So thank you so much. And I think earlier in the program, we had Mask Up Daytona elevate his fan fundership, and he became, he's been a member for 2 months. So we appreciate that, Mask Up Daytona. 100%, man. Thank you very much. Call line is open, 205-850-1994. Today, you have Pro Day, so expect some highlights and some observations later in the day on Pro Day. I think you also have practice. I know you have practice on Thursday, and then you have practice on Friday. And Friday's practice will actually be a scrimmage. That'll be the first scrimmage that Alabama has had this spring football season, which I think we should be very excited about. And if there's going to be a quarterback that maybe takes a step forward, I would perhaps think it happens on Friday, right? I don't think look, there's going to be people at the practice, I promise you. And there's going to be no way in hell that we don't leave the practice with nuggets and people talking about one particular quarterback, right? Like, people are going to be like, we saw this guy make throws. We saw this guy make explosives. I think the coaching staff and the players have been programmed to say, yeah, it's a two-horse race all the way through. But there's going to be people that leak stuff from that scrimmage on Friday that have nuggets, I promise you. All right? Thanks again for the super chat. And then Friday night, you have Alabama in action taking on Michigan. How are we feeling about this game? I mean, look, this number one Michigan team, are they beatable by Alabama's team? Are they? I think when you look to Alabama, they have to shoot the absolute lights out to beat a team like Michigan. Hey, and Dennis upgraded his membership. Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Dennis. Yeah. I think if you called earlier, I appreciate the call. And yeah, thank you so much. And the thing about Michigan, too, is it's going to be a very difficult team to beat, okay? T. Holden's like anybody can be beat, 100%. But you know what's going to suck? Is if we lose to Michigan, that would mean two of our the last couple of footballs, really the last three football seasons, they've all been ended by Big Ten teams, right? Michigan, Indiana, and then to have your basketball season end against another Big Ten team, right? Michigan, that clearly wouldn't sit well. Josh says, I'm just glad to see Alabama basketball make the Sweet 16. That alone is a massive accomplishment. Yeah, and I think you look to basketball and you're like, and it's not, I don't think this is like a moral victory or anything like that. I think it's hard to make the Sweet 16. And I think the way that they played in rounds 1 and rounds 2 were exceptional considering the way that they ended the SEC tournament, right? Foul says, if our defensive effort meets our ability to shoot in transition, we can win. But the rebounding will be much tougher. You know, I was looking at the rebounding, by the way, and I appreciate the feedback inside the comment box. Alabama surprisingly had 47 rebounds against Tech and 46 against Hofstra. They averaged just 39, I think it was 39 or 37 rebounds during the season, which is not good at all. This Michigan team is going to be very challenging to crash the boards against. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more physical. That could be a determining factor in this game. Like, if Alabama's shots are falling, great. If they're not, and Michigan is crashing the boards, we're going to be in some deep doo-doo, right? Period. T. Holden says, I hope we can hit the 3 ball at the same rate as last game. Yeah, you know, I guess one of the great things is that Alabama's already played at the United Center this year, right? They played, I believe it was Illinois. And taking on a team like Illinois, and you kind of look to who the teams Alabama has played this year, Michigan, I would imagine, is probably the best team that they've played since Arizona, right? But they've played great basketball teams this year. Great. I mean, I could just rattle off a couple without even looking at the schedule. St. John's, Illinois, Gonzaga, Arizona, Purdue. There's 5 right there. Not to mention all the teams that they played. Florida, they played Tennessee, they played Vanderbilt. That's 8. And those are like high-level, high-quality, win-the-championship type teams. But there's a big difference. There was a big difference on the boards, and this is what I'm scared about. When Alabama played Purdue and when they played Arizona. Those were the 2 times where Alabama was completely outgunned on the boards. It wasn't even close. Agent, what's up, dog? Good to see you inside the comment box. I think it was Purdue and Arizona that each beat Alabama on the glass by like 25 rebounds or something like that. It wasn't one of those like 52 rebounds to like 26 or something like that. It was crazy. And this is another thing that we talked about kind of at the beginning of the show, was North Carolina coming after Nate Oats. And I think that's probably a possibility one way. I think North Carolina could potentially reach out to Nate Oats. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I would. You've seen what he's done at Alabama basketball in the SEC. I 100% think that they reach out to Oats' agent, but I don't think that he leaves. And let me ask you this. As storied as a program as North Carolina is that a leap up? ACC basketball is fantastic as well. I don't know in the college climate because of NIL and the money and all this. Like, is that a step up? I think tradition-wise, yes, right? I mean, let's face it. North Carolina is a storied basketball as Alabama is football. But I think, is it really a jump up? I don't think so. I think a jump up for Nate Oats, challenge-wise, would be going from Alabama to the NBA. I have never heard him express any type of interest about any other programs, about the NBA. I think he probably receives a call. This is the time that it happens. I do find it interesting that his contract buyout goes from $18 to $10 million on April 1st. That could mean make him an offer to extend his contract. Look, we've talked about this before. Should Kalen DeBoer's contract be adjusted? We've asked that before, and the majority said no. They want to see what he can do in year 3. Texas A&M already adjusted Elko's contract. Indiana already adjusted Cignetti's contract. Each of those coaches, all 3 of them, are entering their 3rd year. Alabama has a really good contract with Coach Kalen DeBoer, but I think year 3 determines the extension or adjustment in pay, right? But with basketball, what else does Nate Oats need to prove? Honestly, like if anybody is due for a contract extension, for an adjustment for what he's been paid, it's Nate Oats. I think we can all agree on that, right? Antonio Snell, what's up, man? Good to see you. And he says, it doesn't seem like a step up because of how North Carolina has been of late. Yeah, and I agree with that. But do you think like even like program to program, it would be a jump up? I don't think so. Like even like Kentucky fans at one point thought they could just take Nate Oats. Why? It's not a step up. With the way that NIL has changed, the game has completely changed, right? Josh says this, I think most around the program feel that he is here until his daughters graduate high school and then jumps to the NBA. That could be true. Yeah. I mean, you definitely got to look at what you have in terms of family dynamics, right? He has 3 daughters. And look, if I know anything about Nate Oats, I know that he's a great basketball coach. I know that the most important thing to Nate Oats is his daughters. I'll just leave it at that. You know how I pride myself on being a really good father? Same thing about Nate Oats. All right? And I'll just leave it at that. I mean, his daughters are the most important thing to him in this world. I promise you. So this is a really great point. 100%. So I think, does a good coach get calls? Yes. And this is another sign of a really good basketball coach, is when they start to take coaches from your coaching staff yearly. We saw this with Saban all the time. We're seeing this with Coach DeBoer, right? You can't get DeBoer. You can't get Saban, so you go after guys on their staff. You can't get Nate Oats, so you start to go on his staff, right? There's been plenty of guys underneath his staff that already are head basketball coaches, right? Brian Hodgson just landed the job at Providence. There's other guys under his tenure that, are coaching all around. That's a sign of a really great coach. So we'll see where Alabama falls on Friday in terms of, their ability to shoot outside, if they can rebound, if they can play defense. They will need a hell of a performance by Aiden Sherrill. They will need a hell of a performance by LeBaron Philon. They will need Wrightsell to be on. They will need Bo Bowling to come with it. Amari Allen, maybe, I love his game. He's been playing more like a pro lately, right? Dennis chimes in and says, I don't know, Kyle. He made the playoffs and SEC championship in year 2. DeBoer is an offensive line away from the championship. Maybe that's true, too. I still think it's amazing that he made the SEC championship in year 2, right? Broderick, what's up, bro? How was the workout, man? So Alabama taking on Michigan, 6:45 Friday night. We will be here for the watch along and the play-by-play. All right. So that's kind of where we stand today on the program. Items that we ran through on this particular show. And of course, you have Pro Day, which is taking place right now. As the news comes in from Pro Day, we will report on that throughout the day. So we talked about Christy Curry going to South Florida. Kind of a shocker. We talked about Nate Oats and his buyout, right, going from 18 to 10. We hit on Lane Kiffin talking about expectations. We talked about Alabama hiring defensive analyst Trent Simpson as a defensive line assistant coach here. We hit on some practice notes. Carroll at guard, the running backs, all the way through our tall, lanky corners. And that's what we covered on the program today. So if you like the show, please let me know inside the comment box. Hit the thumbs up. Be active with it. You can share it. You can interact with us on our Facebook channel. And I really appreciate you guys for checking me out today. Michael, thanks for the big super chat, man. I really appreciate it. 100%, man. That goes hard. And as news comes in, I got you covered right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I hope you have a beautiful day and expect more videos to continue to be cranked out, more content. And thank you so much for joining me right here on Bama Football on